Cruiser Karma is alive and well, and we have an experience from just a couple of weeks ago that brought that absolutely to home. Hi, I'm Nika Waters, and welcome to the Boat Galley podcast. Today I'm talking about progress and friends and how when we help each other, everything goes more smoothly. Today's episode of the Boat Galley podcast is sponsored by Marine Depot Direct, your source for affordable, quality stainless steel hardware. Upgrade your boat with marine-grade stainless steel hardware and accessories like port lights, deck hatches, through hulls, and much more. Make your boat restoration easy and affordable. Use coupon code BG15 for 15% off your first order. MarineDepotDirect.com. Affordable stainless for your boat. So the other day, I was messing around on Instagram, and a friend who I only have ever met on the internet sent me a text and said, well, we're in Zimmerman's Marine, and I'm wondering if you have any ideas of how to get to the Richmond airport. She and her husband had hauled the boat out at Zimmerman's, and they were flying home to the Pacific Northwest. Zimmerman's is about a half an hour away from where we are in Deltaville, and the airport's probably another hour and a half from there. And I said, I'll take you. We had the best time, just chit-chatting, swapping cruising stories on the hour and a half drive to the airport, and we all left promising to share an anchorage in Maine this summer. But before they got out of the car, they both kind of looked at me and they were like, "What, do you have business to do in Richmond? Because this is kind of a long way to go out of your way." And we talked a little bit about Cruiser Karma and the whole idea of paying it forward, because we all tend to help each other out. You know that at some point you're going to need help. And to me, it's one of the absolute major perks of being in the cruising community. They've been able to help other people out. I get to help people out. And at some point, we're going to need help. Absolutely. No question about it. Why not help when I'm in a position to be able to do that? Our buddies, Dave and Carol, once upon a time loaned us the use of their river rental house. And they've just built a new house on Dividing Creek over the Rappahannock River from the boatyard that we were in. Monday morning after that airport run, while I was sanding the rudder in preparation for a barrier coat, my phone basically blew up with texts and phone calls. Jeremy commented, "Hey, Dave and Carol really want to get in touch with you." He'd been contorted all different ways in the forepeak, playing boat yoga up there, installing the windlass power controls, because anchoring is something we had to have done before we could go on the water. And just as I was talking with him, because neither one of us had been able to answer the phone rang again, and it was Dave. "Hey, it's miserably hot out. I've got all day free, all tomorrow morning. If you want to come up here and use the air-conditioned workshop for that vane project, I can help you." The wind vane, the mechanical self-steering system called a freehand system designed by Mike Anderson, is possibly the biggest holdup to launch. It is a part of the rudder project because the trim tab needs to be affixed to the whole length of the rudder. And the trim tab part right now is all we're focused on. There's a wheel and a sail above the waterline that can be tackled later. The trim tab is made of wood, specifically 2 pieces of Iroko hardwood that need to be shaped and have a channel cut into them for the bronze shaft to fit in. Basically, it's 2 clamshell halves that need to be shaped. There's a 1-inch diameter bronze shaft that needs to have 7 holes drilled into it, and each of those holes needs to be tapped for the all-thread rods that will help keep the trim tab straight and centered. Those all-thread rods need to be cut to the right length, the sharp edges filed down, and we don't have all of those tools. And so doing all this work with makeshift tools is definitely a question. We have access to some of those tools that we need, like a drill press, for instance, at the boatyard where we are, which is amazing. But when Jeremy heard Dave's offer, his eyes lit up, because Dave is an experienced woodworker with a shop full of all the exact tools that we need. And when we pulled up to the doors of the garage at right about 3 o'clock, Dave quite literally dropped what he was doing and immediately got to work with Jeremy. He was shoveling gravel and put the shovel filled with gravel down on the ground. And in about 20 minutes, when I came in to check on them, they both were deep into their various parts of the project that included running the pieces of Iroko through a planer, that included working on cutting that all thread and drilling the holes and cutting the channel. It was incredible. By 7 o'clock, 4 hours later, the wood was planed, rough-shaped, grooved out for both the shaft and the all-thread. All the shaft holes were drilled and tapped. And by 4 o'clock the next afternoon, we had glued up the major part of the trim tab for the self-steering vane. Dave's skilled help, combined with the right tools and an air-conditioned space, made incredible difference in the amount of progress that could be made. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that he, with his skills and the offer of the space, I think he advanced our launch date by a full week. Just in case you couldn't figure it out, Dave and Carol are cruisers. And yes, the helpfulness of the community never ceases to amaze me. What kinds of cruiser karma have you experienced, both giving and receiving? Why don't you share those stories with me when we share in Anchorage somewhere, sometime really soon? Thank you so much for listening to the Boat Galley podcast. We love it when we hear from our listeners. We love it when you subscribe. We love it when you share us with your friends. Have the most spectacular week.
Slow